Can you give any other works which incorporate violence? Could be a film, I don't care. Any kind of plot narrative. Flower Boys, season 2, episode 14. This one. It's kind of hot, actually. Yes, I guess that's violence. Come on. You guys watch Grand Theft Auto? You guys are chock full of violence. What? The extended. All right. No, that's cool. I was hoping that term. What do we call that type of violence? Gratuitous. What does gratuitous mean? In that sense, yeah, excessive. Have you ever heard the term violence for violence sake? What does it mean? Yeah, that's almost hyperbolic, isn't it?
It's a lot more than it is because, like I said earlier, it's something that's so ridiculous. It's insane. You look at it in different ways.
Can you think of all right, the most gratuitous violent film you've seen?
Rambo.
King? I don't know that one. All right, why Inglourious Basterds? Go ahead there, Archer. Why did that pop up to you? The most gratuitous violent film, just over the top.
Because it's about killing Nazis.
True, which shouldn't be gratuitous.
So then the reason why they make it so over the top is because they're trying to express the idea of how evil the evil is, I feel.
Okay.
And how much the good has to be the evil, but not just being able to destroy it.
Yeah. All right, you said Rambo, right? Which one? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The first one's actually a really good film. First one's cool. First Blood's awesome. It's good. After that, it's literally, just people getting shot, 400 people, 14 guns in one hand. Yeah, it's silly, right? It's just too much. Oh, it's weird out. Yeah. Can you think of the most, that one scene in a film that you will never forget, and you can't, now if you think about it, it's it makes you kind of shudder a bit in terms of violence. Which one?
Final Destination.
Don't know that. What happened? Can you discuss it? I don't know. Is that really messed up?
It's just a story of people dying very creatively. Yeah. And Saw. There's a bomb attached to the bomb. Saw is really unforgettable.
All right, here's the thing. All right, it might be unforgettable because of just the uniqueness of it, but one which truly might have been you don't want to think about when you're laying in bed or camping. Properly, that was really messed up. Kind of creeped you out. Can you think of something like that?
First time I watched Saving Private Ryan, I was younger.
All right, so just the realism and okay. What about Saving Private Ryan? That's interesting. What about the knife scene? That is Saving Private Ryan, is it not?
Yeah.
When the German soldier and the American soldier get into some sort of hand-to-hand combat, and he basically shushes him to death. He slowly inserts his dagger into him, and that's rough. The humanity there. It's not just there's Asian number 452 shot out of the tree. He's actually Mexican. It's whatever. From that distance, you can't tell the difference. But that was really impacting. Has anybody seen a film called American History X? Yes. The term from that's called curbing. Did you see that? That one, I can't watch that one. Can't see that movie a couple times. Ugh. Rough. Really rough. So is it violence for violence sake? There's an emotional thing involved too. Does that make sense? So you're either scared to death by the factor, you're emotionally involved with that character, you can relate to it, or there's just some level of realism that affects us. So even if we, can't relate to a 26-year-old Jewish American soldier in World War II, slowly murdered and suffocating on his own blood by some Nazi dagger. I think that something in that scenario in terms of our fight or flight reactionary human nature scares the hell out of us. What about the symbolism of her death at the end? With the martyrdom and all that, it's symbolic for what? If it is symbolic. Because the thing is, all right, that's bad. That's not good. That lady died or somebody died. But if there's some larger symbolism behind that, think about like in history when we see that. I think we have this sort of passive-aggressive thing with the news. It's like, why are we focusing on that kid? Or that death? When 6 million people died in the tree in the filming of Rambo today. But they're Mexicans. Go ahead. What's symbolic about Feroz's death? Which? Now here comes all our themes of the novel. So, facing your fears, is that what you're saying? Kind of? All right.
It's kind of like she's doing that.
All right. She's being brave, essentially. Okay. Facing your fears, confronting your fears, being brave. What else? Don't disregard that. Makes a lot of sense. What do you think there, Lau? What does her death represent? You read this one, right?
Yeah.
I know you did. Good.
Said,
I know, he said it.
it could be like another form of rebirth, I guess.
Okay, so ironically, her death represents hope. Is that what you're saying? Another opportunity? I don't know about that one. I mean, it's there, but I don't know as a reader, we definitely want to buy into that concept. It doesn't sound all too optimistic.
Sense of what power it is that's forced on her. And she finally realizes that real power she
Okay. All right, so this sort of re-evaluation of power and what constitutes being in control. But doesn't that really, if that is a factor in the novel, and it is, doesn't that sort of open the doors for a different discussion which might sort of trump that statement? If the only means this woman has to attain some level of power, control over her life, is death, isn't that another commentary in itself? Shouldn't that make you go, oh, yay, oh, we won? You know, you've seen some kind of comedy. Some guy's jumping up and down because something good happened, he gets hit by a truck. You know, it's like, yay, I'm finally won, and you're dead. It's like, that's truly tragic if, in order to attain that, she has to die. So now there's a smaller commentary, it's not huge, but something more tangible for us. It's like, okay, she has zero options in life. And that goes all the way back to the very simple statement about women not having some sort of level of equality, correct? So it's all cyclical in that sense. Maher, you were going to say something? I'm sorry, Archie, you going to say something?
The physical body is that, but her idea was obviously through the rest of the story.
Awesome. And I think, who has the narrative in 1.0? You better talk about that one, buddy.
What is that?
Yeah, nice. We had a very nice narrative presentation today, which was pretty cool. They put a bunch of stuff up on one of those slides. I was like, no way.
What do you actually see?
There's a bunch. No way. That's some false claims there. And they turned out to be pretty decent. They were good. Very good. Speaking of which, got yours. Going back to what that did. In theory, do you know what rubric I used? Guess what? Don't tell them. What rubric did you potentially get a formative grade for? What? No practice. Well, like smoke without fire? Does that happen? Anywho, STD. What rubric did I use to give Eugene and Grace a grade? What'd you say? That would make sense, but given their topic, gender-based language in Woman 0.0, FOA. It really was an FOA. And literally, your title probably would have been subjugation of language conducive to the subjugation of women in Sadari's Woman 0.0, correct? That's really was the focus you went at. There was a bunch of stuff you could have talked about, but that was really your focus. They've already given an FOA. If you want to come back later, fix that, make it better, if you will, or improve upon it, polish it up. You got an FOA you could give if that was something we all agree is going to be a good idea. A lot of those points in there that you'll be seeing in terms of the two people presenting in the next couple of days, they are already written tasks too. They really are. The question's already there. They could easily or are screaming further oral activity in terms of being a language focus. So language focus with lit isn't something which is really kind of, it's not really part of the program, you know. Language is supposed to be 1 and 2. But I disagree with the statement that you can't find language components, like straight up topics and learning outcomes from part 1. Part 2, not so much, maybe. More so part 1. The cultural aspect can never be taken away from the lit. They're holistic. All right. Going back to that thing, today we'll be watching a presentation because these two people have shared their presentation with me, correct? I have access to that, so I can open it right here. What did he say? What's on what?
He's on the email group.
Oh, it's in our group.
Yeah.
All right, great. I heard floodlight. I don't. The rest of you can go ahead and open the thing called todaysmeet.com. It's with 2 E's, you weirdos. /12 talking. There's no G. Talking. Like Shel Silverstein's Weird Bird. Talking. 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 You be crazy. 12 talking.
Today's what?
It's MEET, Eugene. Not like a butcher shop. That's you. Now, do me a favor. When they are giving you free information regarding our current work of literature, I mean, I don't know how to give the Heimlich in Korean, so you're in charge over there, Grace. Probably happens a lot there. All those barbecue, nothing but barbecue places there with those, some of the vacuum. It's in the Woman at 0.0 folder there, huh? Content. All right, got it. Now, no one's suggesting you write down everything they say. Go, I want to do an FOA tomorrow, Mr. White, and stand up here and read their notes. Super uncool. What they are doing is increasing your understanding of our work of lit. All of this stuff will be applicable. Nobody can be like, I'm not going to use that one in my exam. You might have to use it in your exam. It might not be the one you want to use, but maybe the other 5 questions are just horrible. And that's the one question you get, and it really screams 1.0. You can thank these guys in April and May. Wow. Great. Does Spiritos truly attain a level of power? This is very I don't know why this doesn't want to play. What are you playing there, June? Is that some kind of death metal? Is that some kind of? What's the title of that song? Is that one you're working on? That was Thunderstruck? Is there even? There's not even like a riff. It's all just. Like the good part. You're playing like the tail end of Thunderstruck. That's my point. What? No. Anderson. Yeah, there's no. This won't play, guy. I don't understand what's going on. We're just gonna go through it this way. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. We'll just go through it. Ready? Wait. Hold on. Intro music. Let's now stand. Yeah, look at that. This guy's mean business. Do you hear it? Do you feel it? Yeah, Hunty! Yeah. Hot dang. Hot dang. Roger, wait. Yeah. Man, you got intro music? This is like tag team. The former World Continental Tag Team Champions. Get over there at the presentation. No one sits during a presentation. It's not a demo, it's a presentation. Soften off the music. Soften. Turn off the fog machine. And you ruined the whole intro with that right this dead time. Great. All right, boys, maybe you're ready. I would suggest taking notes on all these presentations in the same place.
So we're gonna do a presentation, I guess, kind of on just like our over here, just refer to Australia attain power. Like the answer may be like really simple at first. Like you just look at it and say, oh, of course, like she doesn't really have power. She's like a woman. First of all, she's.
Whoa.
She's a woman in that time period in that location. That geographic, yeah. In that geographical location, it's just not a good time for like women to like so sorry. So we decided to, in order to answer this question, we're gonna look through like this series of events that have in the story and kind of like analyze it and give like a balanced review of kind of whether or not she does have power, or at least achieve a certain level of power. So yeah, it's kind of obvious at first, like she could choose like first of all, choose against the female circumcision, her own marriage, and she yeah. So nice.
Yes. Slide boy.
And so our first step is we need to define the term power, and we define it as we hated two possible definitions. One, the ability to do something or act in a particular way, and the capacity or ability to direct or influence the behavior of others or the course of events.
The ability to do something or act in a particular way. The capacity or ability to direct or influence the behavior of others or the course of events. Like, see, okay, so it's like community, individual. Okay.
Okay, so starting off,
Getting there.
so,
It's your presentation. I did. It's your presentation.
okay, so the first part of the story is Firdaus's childhood, and one of the first events is her being educated by them, and so we will discuss whether or not she had power, and we came up with a couple of points. So, so yes means that she had power, no means she didn't. And for an example of her having power is a quote on page 19. After my father died, he sent me to elementary school. And because she chose school, she did not have to attend school. And this power of choice is not only seen at the beginning of her life, but it seems to grow stronger, and it seems that throughout her life she always has the choice of the power of choice.
Then on the contrary, again, she didn't really get to sort of like decide where she wanted to be educated, what kind of education. Her uncle just took her with him after her father passed away, so she didn't really get to see that.
No, I'm not ready. I'm ready. Now, work of lit, count to 10. Who can tell us which topic in part 1 this can relate to? 4. What? Part 4 of part 1? Which topic in part 1 does this relate to? And if you tell me in the next 10 seconds, starting now, you don't have to do the homework. Count super slow. I get confused around 4. I'll count in Greek. Deca. No. How about power and privilege? You're about to say that. There's a bunch of power-based things in there. All right. I know. It's a cultural context. Just throw it out there.
Okay, so now we move on to her living with her uncle. Again, the power of choice is again available. She had the decision to leave, and she took it at some point. However, she read back later, but she always had the decision. She always had the power, the choice to leave. And here, a quote from page 42: "I had no idea where my steps would lead." This was after she had ran away from her uncle. She was uncertain about her path, and feared her possible future if of the unknown outside world, so she decided to return to her uncle.
But then again, she was sort of forced into it with her uncle because she has nowhere else to go. And this is like the man who like sexually abused her when she was younger, and she was teaching her the alphabet and stuff like that. Like he would, like in this quote, his hands would continue to press against my thigh with grasping almost brutal insistence. So again, this is sort of how like she doesn't really have power because she's being objectified. She's a woman. She's a fool. She's this object of sexual needs and things. So again, she doesn't really have a say in this because her uncle is like he's the person who like provides her with shelter and whatnot, and also education. Then again, she can't really choose to turn away from this because if she does, she'd be on the streets.
Yeah.
There's really nothing left of sex. So try to reevaluate it. Does she really have power?
Not necessarily. I'm not sure about all of these, but potentially. But don't forget, fantastic tactic in terms of your exam paper 2, based on the part 3 text you've read. Choose 2 or at least 2. Answer one of these 6 questions, having some preconceived, I think this is going to be useful, types of direct quotations from your work. Very, very useful. Power is a common word that will pop up in a lot of those options in paper 2. Who has power in one of the one?
And now further on in her life, she is still quite young. And this is her marriage with Sheik Makhan.
How old? So how do we say or do we infer she is when she gets married? Say 16? Feels right, doesn't it? I mean, it's definitely something abnormal for us. 19 would seem too conventional. So, yeah.
So it is unknown whether she had a child in her next marriage. However, the uncle does bring it up, saying that Firdaus eavesdropping on her uncle and her uncle's wife's discussion. Her uncle brings up, what if she rejects Sheik Makhan? But however, what we do know is that she always had the choice to leave, and she did leave the Sheik Makhan. Quote from page 56, so I left the house and went to my uncle. So in a sense, she always had the power. The power of her choice seems to grow. She seems to have more choices and more power over the decisions that she can make as she goes.
This is awesome. Who agrees with Hanster on this one? You do? All right. I'm not saying you guys are wrong, but I'm hoping some of you are like, really? I think the issue with this character is you could argue lots of things, right? Any kind of victimized situation, it's easy, or not easy per se, but you can justify this and you can justify that. There should be someone else who could easily be like, yes, but. I'm going on to that real quick. So I left the house and went to my uncle. Did you not just say in the other slide the uncle was the guy who matches up with molestation and betrayal?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So does that actual power there? If we go back to your definition, if you only have one option and that's your option?
She had a variety of options.
All right.
She had like, she didn't necessarily. She went back to her uncle. She didn't necessarily have to. She had. It was like choosing between two evils.
Okay, and that might not support your definition of power. Not saying you're wrong, because that's the point. We can argue. That's the thing. That's why, like you said before, I completely agree. It seems like an obvious answer. I didn't expect you to say what you said after that. That most would say no or yes. But there is this sort of duality in how we can define these things and this level of attaining. It's a very complex story in terms of characterization and theme. Okay, cool.
Yeah, she's
My bad.
she's put in like this circumstance where she's with this, she's like down because in their culture, like the woman has to follow the guy, like yeah, and it's like it's wasn't that like it's like this interesting going on, but this guy like takes her like total crap, like and the food things, like the food there's leftovers, great, let's have some food and shoot. I think I would like flip out friends to like meet her and I think like he didn't resort to domestic violence like on a regular basis, so she had to endure like this kind of like similar thing that already happened with her uncle already. So like yeah, even in his culture, but that is because they meant others in religion be their wives. So like woman again, much like for us is put in a position where she has really no choice over like whether or not she wants to eat. Like she doesn't really have a choice to follow what she wants to do. So.
Okay. I like how you've organized this.
All right. So further on in her life, she meets Sharifa and Bayomi, and finds herself in a life of prostitution. And in some ways, she does have power in prostitution because she can control her own prices, and she can control her life, the way she wants to spend her money, either on lifestyle or food. And this can be seen as on page 71, where when she ponders, when she has 10, 10 bills and pays the waiter, and quote, the waiter approached out of the table with a respectful humility, showing the power of money. And with this money, she can control shop service.
Can you read that quote?
The waiter approached, bowed over the table with a movement of respectful humility.
So at this point in her life, she has like the ability to control her own price, but if controlling your own price for offering services isn't really like isn't really like influential. Like she has power over herself, but she doesn't have power over like anything else besides what money can provide for her. So how do you
She dictates the price of her domination.
so power not
Twofold.
What's that quote say? I knew what?
I knew that my professional convinced back then that men were in control of both worlds.
All right, that one's, I've already seen that one twice, so that one might be very applicable to a lot of cultural context scenarios. Cool. Are we on the next slide?
And then a bit after her prostitution, she decides to find a more respectable job and an office job. And at this position, she also had a power as well, a different form of power. She was her own worker. She could decide how hard she wanted to work and what type of work she wanted to take on. She also did not fear of her managers or the low wages that they provided, and had power over threats, the threats that they tried, the threats of further lower wages or even she knew, quote, I also knew that if I lost my job, all I would lose with it was the miserable salary. Can be found in page 82.
And this is also similar, like her office job is also kind of similar to her time as a prostitute. Like she's offering her services, which is different services, but she still gets the whole disrespect and kind of like disrespect and discrimination towards what she does. Because again, she's naming her price, but if she is able to dictate her price, like she has like really no control besides like she only has control over her price. So rejecting a more respectable salary would be her only sort of power.
Yep. Okay. Anybody got any comments so far? Questions for the boys? Go ahead, Arch. What? Ah, it's a typo. Content for fun.
And we see at the end of close to the end of her freedom, before she gets put into jail, she murders her pimp, hard out.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a point in time where the tables return, and
Sorry.
because she had power over someone's life, and she chose that person's death over his life.
She had power over someone else's life. Yes. She chose his death over his life. What's Okay. Well, I argue that choice thing, but that one's it's extremely complex. That whole choice thing. All right, this is good. There's a lot of stuff to talk about there. It's extremely complex.
I do respect like Connor's work on the power of choice thing.
It's good of you.
But I recognize that power of choice is really actually literally mentioned in one place on those subtle things. Like she could have done something else, but she didn't do it. That's really too theoretical, but
Mhm.
the actual thing about choice comes out when by you being asked Ferdows about whether she prefers tangerine and orange juice. And at this time, Ferdows is really dumbfounded, and then afterwards, she develops this obsession toward power choice, and then that makes sense, I guess. I guess the other points make sense.
All right, that's a fantastic reference right there. That one's it's huge. That bit in the novel. She's so taken back by that, and it's truly sad that she is so impressed, if you will, or just shocked and swooned almost by this guy because he's giving her options and two things she never would normally get anyhow. And so it speaks volumes with the level of her status, situation, brevity. But isn't that analogous to the thing at the end?
Yeah.
Oh, I got lots of options. How about this? Would you agree or disagree? In terms of mobile providers in China, you have options. All right, what do you have? I don't know. I'm really asking. I have no idea. Just throwing that out there. China Mobile, Unicom, Telecom. There's three that we know of, big ones. There's probably some other stuff too. Would you agree, as inhabiting citizens of Metro Guangdong, Guangzhou, you have choices in terms of secondary education? You don't. But in general, you understand the situation we have here. Do you have choices? No, I mean, us, you. All right, you say yes. Who says no? Yeah. Well, what do you mean by no?
I feel like by how undefined choice presentation, I feel like throughout the novel, although she had the ability to make a choice,
Yes.
the fact that she was given the choice means that she never had time to make a choice.
Okay.
So I think that having power really means like being able to make a choice that's not limited to.
From a budding young person's perspective, I know exactly what I think you're getting at. People will lead you into a false sense of adulthood by giving you really crappy options. It's going to happen soon. It's already happened. It started happening in 5th grade. You can either eat this or shut up. Oh, okay. I get choices. So I think a lot of you might get that. So do you have, all right, who here, and some of this is crazy. If you're not Philip, you might not understand this. Phil has like all the power in the world. I'm jealous of Philip as a 12th grader. What are you gonna do this summer? Taking my skateboard and going all over the damn place. Okay. All right, need some money? All right, cool. Wow. Who here feels they have some level of, based on the definition, power in your teenage existence? Arch says yes. Han scratching his head. He's like, I got an electric bike. I guess I got, at least I got transportation, which is really cool, amazingly cool. No one. Are you raising both your hands? Wow.
No, I was checking.
What? Did you have to spend the whole summer by yourself?
I did.
So at that point in time, what was keeping you from doing whatever you wanted?
Actually, that's true.
Oh my God, why did I realize that at the time? Some quick montage, like some, all sorts of crazy stuff going on. Damn. He was like sitting there just not watching TV, SAT. No one's actually making me do this. Oh. False hope. Martyrdom. I didn't have fun for you. SAT. All right, who says no? I don't really have any power. I didn't. I might have been told I kind of did. I might have thought I did, but now I got Philip as my base. No, I was basically in jail. Wasn't, but comparatively speaking. Who says no? Who's no? All right. Well, oh yeah, definitely not. Poor guy. I don't want to get into that. I don't want to be your Sadawi character to Firdaus. Roger, you said no. You don't have to share. It doesn't have to be like my parents are horrible. I just mean like you could just be like, okay, I can't do this, I can't do that. I'm only have these options. This is where I live. I don't choose my vacations. They might make you think. They might let you think you're choosing your university, but maybe not. How does that work?
It's not really like those like small choices. Well, I'm saying it's like the small choices.
All right, cool. So small choices. Firdaus could have chosen gum A or gum B before she went off and sold herself to some horrible men.
It like adds up. She gets kind of like something like it's like the small things like that, like kind of like safety, like what kind of person, but like oh, you have to go home, you have to read like how to read like professor.
It's an opportunity.
It keeps you like kind of in check.
That's
like oh, I want to go to safety right now.
all right. Most of us can't do that. So if you even have a job, but at least as an adult, I could, if I wanted to quit, I guess I could quit tomorrow. I could do that. What Roger said? If I did, I would have to pass on your current predicted scores to whoever's going to replace me. Roger. I'll be nice. It's 4, right? I think a lot of us who do what I do, there's a level of freedom there. I can't even imagine. My brother, yes, he watches this. He has no time. He asked me, he's like, well, you ever think about coming to the States? Like, sure. He knew I was going to say no. But he kind of asked me, well, if you did, do you think you'd like to work with me? And my brother does some pretty cool stuff. One thing he does is make crazy amounts of money. To be honest, he does. From American standpoint, your parents own like sweatshops in Guangdong. I mean, they know about crazy money. But from an American standpoint, he's doing okay. So I was like, interesting. But then I think about like working. We worked long hours. I was here till like 9 o'clock last night. But it's different. What am I going to do in 17 days or whatever? I'm going to go to Vietnam. Do nothing. And then in Christmas, I get 2 weeks. There's freedom. There's power in having 2 weeks off. I don't know what I would do with like you get 7 days of vacation a year. That becomes like powerless. We get choices in the summer because we've consciously made this choice in our lives in order to have this sort of freedom. You say you don't because you get these small choices, but you might not, the big things. How many of you, and I'm pointing at you because I had a conversation with your mom last night. It was awesome. And it was very innocuous, but just, we went to university visits. Cool. Does she know where she'd like to go? She's like, yes, but I'm thinking something different. And that was it. That was the extent of it. She kind of smiled. Like, cool. So, I mean, think about that. in hindsight, did I really have any choice about where I went to university? Not really. I think I probably thought I did. You know, it's like my choice. I filled out the paperwork, you know, letter of recommendation, all that stuff. But ultimately, I guess if somebody said no, that would have been no, right? It doesn't make anything bad or wrong. I mean, you're still, people are responsible for you. And then later you end up having some kind of job, and now you have children, and now maybe your choices are limited because of that, right? So I don't think, you know, we can argue all sorts of things about what constitutes power and liberty and freedom of all sorts of expression or whatever. But it's interesting to add all that stuff up. Think about that. You raise your hand. Why are you a powerful teenager?
I think because my parents did it really nice. And get away-
Soft. Soft is the word.
We can get away from all the things that even if I get chastised for doing something wrong.
The fact that you use the word chastise lets us know that there are zero repercussions going on there.
But the consequences are like they're either set like they're really small consequences, or they're so big that we all know that they're never gonna happen.
They're never going to kill you.
Yeah. Like it's not, or like the consequences are things that they won't be able to enforce, and neither will I follow because I know that. Like they're too hard to enforce.
Like they'll take your car away?
Yeah, you know,
Alright.
or my summer house.
Yeah, right. We won't let you see your girlfriend anymore?
And you and I.
All right, cool. All right.
Also, like I think like power is relative. Like for all of us,
Yes.
consider to be powerful is different. I mean, and also there's like the fact of like manipulating power over freedom, because there are a lot of cases where one might have more freedom than another given to them by their parents.
Yeah.
But then some kids, I'm not saying we, but some kids might exploit the freedom they have, whether or not that's.
Yeah. Absolutely. You will see that in your first year at university. If you go to the UK, not so much. You end up at a school in the States, you'd be like, what's up with that guy? And it's like somebody's just going crazy because they've been in some kind of I have no choices in life, suburban hell. And all of a sudden it's like, yeah, they will go nuts. They will not be able to handle that level of power and self-determination. And that's why it's so cool where you're at right now. You can really dictate so much in your lives, like what's going to happen. Not in like a scary sense. It's just going to be fine and fantastic no matter what. But the path you ultimately end up at will be horribly determined more potentially about where you're at next fall. Stop it. And it might make zero difference if you think about it. Ultimately, you have a decent job. Ultimately, you'll be doing this. Ultimately, you'll be happy. But the people you meet, right, the relationships you establish, the cultural aspects you sort of accept or reject, all that stuff. And where you decide to always talk like you got potatoes in your mouth, or yeah. That's what they say about Danish people. And all the other Scandinavians too. Yeah. Cool. All right. A little bit off topic, guys. Well done. That's cool. I kind of like the fact that you were sitting on the fence, because it's not. I don't think there's one declarative answer to that. It's always you can go back and forth with these. Yes, she did, but. All right. Cool. There is always a good chance that word power will show up in that paper that you examine. Now, we're going to continue to look at our documentary.
I was just about to ask the same thing.
See, powerful is that guy who just walks out. Wow, this is weird. Is this some kind of club I don't know about?
Oh, I thought you were saying the coach.
What do you call the urinal club? What is it?
The what?
What do you, Niagara Falls Club? What do you call it? The Polar Bear Club's old people swim in ice water. What do you call this? I don't know. It's pretty cool. All right, going back to this guy. Two things. One, yes, there's some cultural business going on, contextual stuff. It is a real world example of common themes and plot structures which have happened in our novel. So yeah, it is a work of fiction, allegedly based on some woman's account. But we can see in, at least this is 21st century stuff going on here. This thing was released in 2006. It's not 30, 40 years old. This stuff's going on. It took me a long time to actually figure out what to call this place. I was calling it the Greenery Garden Hotel for a couple of years. Have you been to the Garden Hotel? I have. Went there last week for the teacher party. It's nice. Has anybody seen any shady stuff going on at the Garden Hotel?
That's
Yeah.
pretty what?
Exactly.
There's so much shady stuff.
Yes. That's that guy. He knows. He's the powerless one. He doesn't know. So I went there completely. Had no idea. I'm ignorant to these things. We're in China. Nothing bad happens here. And I went there for Jackie and Joe Stucker's retirement party. Context extremely positive, all that stuff. As I was waiting for my wife to leave, some woman walked up to me. Exactly. And I was like, what? Did she really just say what she said? It wasn't much, but she was feared out seeing me. Essentially. She's like, do you want an orange or do you want I was like, I want to go back to the party. I don't want any of that. I was like, you might want to, I literally said, you might want to ask my wife about that. Here she comes. And she walked away. Yes. Last year, 2 years ago, for a week, I was like, what, we're thinking about going to this place called Zhuhai, which is not a Hebrew High School Musical. I thought that's I know that's a bad joke. It sounds like it, doesn't it? All they do is Fiddler on the Roof. Every production, Fiddler on the Roof. Fiddler on the Roof. What are we doing? Anyways, if you look it up on the internet and look at Wiki Travel or whatever, it's like seafood and prostitution. Exactly. Exactly. And you didn't see anything and you didn't notice anything. But the point is, when we watch this documentary, it's not being xenophobic or anything. Just don't be like, oh, well, that's that part of the world and this is isolated. It's a thing which deals with some sort of socioeconomic, cultural thing, tourism. It's everywhere. We might not see it or be confronted with it. And I don't know the numbers, but I would guarantee you, if you did some small research in terms of human trafficking for whatever purposes, China's going to be at the top of the list in terms of people being preyed upon, forced into doing things. It certainly is there. I watched another one the other day, briefly about Malaysia, which had a comparable situation. And a lot of the women involved were being escorted out of China to Kuala Lumpur. So it's not isolated, it's there. And this whole level of depravity and victimization and just horrible, horrible stuff that's going on. It's not just Egypt. So we make these claims about an Islamic religion, which is completely grammatically incorrect. In Islam or whatever, Islamic culture, I don't even like to use culture with religion. It's not just happening there. Women in Christian societies suffer as well, or equally have to follow their men and do this and not allowed to advance. So we need to be conscious of the fact that these things, which we're critical of and we know are not good, happen everywhere.
So the next step for her is to find those kind of girls for me. Newspaper.
So they've translated it. Work available in Europe or Japan, now hiring waitresses, dancers, and singers.
Brands are often used by recruiters. Some women understand their code for sex work.
Yeah, women needed urgently to work on a farm. Right. I lived in both these places. I lived in Cyprus for a number of years. And like a lot of your parents and you too, you might have to go renew your visas and that kind of thing. You might have to go someplace like the whole police station and all that, like the foreign police station. We used to have to do this in Cyprus, same thing. But there you would see these ladies standing in line, and a lot of them there with this thing called an artist visa. What is that? And they certainly weren't there in terms of any kind of artistic endeavor. And on a side note, tragic, but this is kind of humorous. My first month or so of working in Cyprus, I had a group of, they were 8th graders. And we were in the library doing like that, ubiquitous library introductory thing, research and all that, and the librarian showing them how to do stuff for the 14th year in a row. And all of a sudden, a bunch of boys, because it was on top of this building, it was all glass, the library, it was kind of strange. There was a building next door. A bunch of the boys were getting kind of weird next to the window, kind of like banging on the glass like a bunch of monkeys and throwing dung like at the zoo. Extremely agitated and excited. And the nice librarian, she's super sweet. She starts walking. Oh no, not again. Boys, get away from the window. And I was like, what's going on? It turns out there was an apartment building next to our school. The women didn't work there, but that's where they were housed. And these women. And they would like to go up on the roof and sunbathe. And in near nude states of attire. So you can imagine 8th grade boys in the library. I just thought they liked to read. Can we go back to the library, please?
But a good percentage are fooled by the traffickers.
70% of the girls know exactly where they're going and what they're going for. 20% of them agree to be exotic dancers, but often don't suspect what else might happen to them. And the remaining 10% are totally unaware. In other words, they are brought there under false pretenses.
Once moved out of Moldova, Ukraine, and the other major source countries, the women's trafficking odyssey begins.
While we're watching this, and I don't want you to take notes, I really don't. Just think about this in 2 terms. Contextual aspects, like, okay, what's going on? The plot, if you want to call it that, how does that directly relate to things we might have seen or experienced or scenarios in the novel? Secondly, in terms of this being essentially a part 2 text, mass communication, the role of editing, that list of things we looked at in last class in terms of what are used in topics and learning outcomes of part 2 text. Sexual bias, manipulation of media, presentation for effect, desired effect. How are they, even though it's completely true, how are they putting this person in some sort of light or camera angle, camera speed? What effect is that having on here? A couple of things. Just open up your computer when an idea pops into there. You don't have to have it open. If nothing pops in, it should. So imagery of the silhouette, we'll see a girl in a few minutes next to a window as she's saying what she's saying, or it's not her, it's some sort of voiceover. But it clearly has like a classic sort of imagery suggestive of isolation, darkness, and maybe loss of hope and all those themes. Now, when they have the women telling their stories, which is in Russian, instead of having subtitles, they use a voiceover, like a voice actor. What effect might that have? How is that more effective in terms of getting their ideas across or having some sort of tone versus subtitles? Phil said something about theme of motif of smoking, suggests desperation, ignorance, and carelessness. All right, that works, especially when they're interviewing the Vlad character, who is our villain. He seems to be a bit flippant and disregard the gravity of the situation. He's just sitting there like, yeah, you know, it's not, he doesn't seem like he's remorseful at all.
For Katya, it's now been 5 weeks in captivity, and all communication with her traffickers has gone dead. Trafficking victims often disappear without a trace. What little we know about what Katya may be enduring is pieced together from those who managed to escape. Today, 23-year-old Tanya is seeing her family for the first time since she was trafficked to the underground brothels of Turkey.
Before this, I hadn't encountered much evil in my life. I couldn't believe places like that actually exist in this world. I thought I'd find at least one kind person, or that one of those pimps would set me free.
When Tanya left home 6 months earlier, she told her daughter that she was going to work abroad to make desperately needed money. The idea came from a woman in town who knew her family was struggling. It's common for the first person in a trafficking chain to know the victim personally.
Anyone who works with people has to understand their psychology. They have to know how to lure someone in. They don't even have money for basic food. So most people try to find work abroad. Once they hear words like abroad or big money, they're hooked.
I started crying. I said that I wanted to go back home to my child. The other girls told me, we also have children, and we also work, and you'll have to do it too. There's nothing you can do about it. They said they all got there the same way I did. I prayed, asked God to somehow help me get back home.
Virel is now headed back to Turkey to rescue his wife from Apo, the pimp who owns her. This time, without the help of the group.
Sorry for the interruption. This is an announcement concerning all athletic practices this afternoon. 6th, 7th, and 8th grade boys soccer practices are canceled. Those students need to go home on the regularly scheduled buses or contact their drivers to get picked up earlier. All indoor practices are going on as scheduled. So 6th, 7th, and 8th grade boys soccer, no practice today.
Virel knows this may be his last chance to get Katya back. And all he has is Apo's telephone number.
So they're using his phone, right? Okay.
Apo has a wife named Maria, who is his partner in crime. At their airport meeting 2 weeks earlier, Virel had pretended to be a pimp named Seryoja.
Sorry again for the interruption. Cross-country practice for boys and girls will take place this afternoon. Please report to the gym in the stadium, in the bleachers at 3:15. Cross-country practice will take place. Thank you.
Swimming, cross country.
Я не говорю там, что ничего. Это получается, бутылку зарядила Катина, мама, в Болгарии. Меня взяли за задницу на Украине. Понимаешь, в общем дело, именно Катя. И у меня есть единственный выход, чтобы сесть, выкупить ее за деньги. А у вас это организация проблем, чтобы она выехала вообще нахрен с этой страны.
Короче, ты сходи к ним там, скажи там, что ты, это, не виновата вообще.
Солнце, а как я пойду к ним там сейчас, ты что?
Она твоя любимая.
Да, такая любимая, как я не.
Ты не знала, какая она сучка?
Я не знаю, я знаю одно, что ее мама хотела просто пошутить.
А муж ее?
Да я не знаю, там муж, нас никому не надо. Вот что самое главное, чтобы ее не было здесь. Все, в Турции, чтобы ее не было, чтобы вам претензий к мне.
Пойдем через 20 минут, хорошо, мы обязательно поговорим.
Хорошо, Миш, без проблем.
Хорошо?
Да.
Давай.
Да. Через 20 минут перезвоните. Фу, бля, голову. Алло. Что вы говорите?
Он говорит, что он тебя не доверяет. Ты ему ошибку сделал. Он не может тебя доверять. Просто он тебе не может доверять.
Дай не скажи.
Она сейчас не понимает.
А где?
Она не понимает, она в другом доме живет сейчас.
Так давайте, послушай, давай встретимся четвером, Катя, ты, я и Апо. И посядем нормально поговорим. Я клянусь, мама со своей стороны, ни одного полицейского я не вижу. Ни одного его вообще никого. Я пришел, сели на нейтральной территории где-нибудь, сели нормально в баре где-нибудь, сели и поговорили.
Think about the significance of that phone call. And just how well collective and cool-headed the guy is. And if he messes this up, it's over. This is far more grave than some TOK presentation. It's his wife, you know, his whole life is in the balance right there.
Сейчас, с моей стороны ничего нет.
Ты когда завтра зазвонимся?
Давай, я тебе завтра Васе перезвоню.
Давай.
Господи, если она завтра придет на встречу с Катей, все. Дадите мне рубашку с микрофоном, с камерой, и будете слушать весь разговор и видеть все, как что делается.
At this point, Katya could be anywhere in Antalya. Viral and the team decided to search for Katya in Turkey's hotel.
What did they say at the beginning of the documentary about what you're about to see? Do you remember anything about, like, you're about to watch this and this is how we're going to go about it? Probably not. I'm positive they said something, you know, undercover. They used that term or something like that, right? Does anybody find it weird that he's actually telling them, you know, give me that and you'll be able to hear everything, like as if it was his idea? No? It's interesting, isn't it? It's like, well, weren't they going to do that anyhow?
Well, maybe he thinks that by exposing them, it'll be able to help the situation, even if things go badly for him finding his wife.
All right, so in terms of us creating this documentary, why did they leave or add or include that bit?
To make him look like a good guy.
What?
To make him look more like a good guy.
We know he's a good guy or he's a victim. We don't need to feel any worse for the guy.
Desperation.
Desperation? What about culpability? What if this goes horribly wrong? I don't know about compensation because he's the one, I mean, he's not going to get any compensation. Think about the situation. They're all mutually invested here. They're getting something out of it. He's getting something out of it. He wouldn't be where he's at right now if it wasn't for this production company. If things go really, really wrong, you know what I'm saying? Maybe, because if we see a bit before, I think we've already seen it or about to see it. The woman who's in charge of this, the way, just her word choice suggests it's like, you know, if we do this, now we're sort of, there's some, use the word ethical, some ethical issues here because he wants to use some video footage. It's coming up, apologize. No spoilers, but he wants to kind of make, I filmed you doing this, release the girl, otherwise we're going to give it to the authorities. And they're like, ooh, now things are looking kind of hairy for us because what happens if things really do go wrong? This is all sort of our doing. We're really responsible for maybe something tragic here. So potentially in terms of the editing thing, they're putting it in there to make it look as if he might be more inclined to have this happen and what obviously was something they were going to do from the get-go. Think about the ethical issues of this. I mean, aren't you willingly, what are you trying to get out of this? Are you supposed to feel bad because it's like, yes, we got a great story. What's your story? We found this guy, and it's like, oh God, that's horrible. Does that make sense? It's like war photographer. There's all sorts of weirdness going on here in terms of what you're producing and the subject matter.
Brothels and discos.
All right. This is linked. If you don't have access to this, I will give you access by Monday. It is your homework. If you can't get it out of the weekend because you can't get a hold of this because it's not on SC Media right now, but if you have access to this, finish watching it.
So weird.
Listen, buddy, in this class you have zero power.
They wanted that. They said,
No,
they just, I don't know.
It was
That's
totally
over
not
there.
why the bad guy in jail?
That's straight up spoiler alert. You're gonna have to watch that. No, someone else already asked that.
Oh, what?
I'm serious.
No.
Oh, Eugene.
Eugene.
Oh,
I have no power here.
Watch me. Get you a cup of coffee.
Yeah. If you did not get an email because you did not turn your stuff in yesterday at 3:06, you're getting one in the next 15 minutes.
What? I don't turn mine just on time.
No, you didn't turn yours in yet. A couple of you. I know who you are.
Are you serious?
Did I
A couple of you still don't know how to turn this into a PDF, which kills me. Yeah, that kills me a lot. Now you kill me. Don't bother, everybody downloaded it.
Mine was PDF.
Yeah, I'm almost positive.